During Southwest Florida's extremes, rainy season or dry season, putting water to good use in the yard is a challenge, particularly when it comes to incorporating ponds and other aquatic features into landscapes. Punta Gorda native Brian Martin's company, Aqua Studio, specializes in aquatic installations. He encourages clients to consider sustainable options.
Standard pool pump, let's say a horse-and-a-half pool pump, is going to run about 8 hours a day. That kind of system is going to cost you roughly about $85 a month on your electric bill. Here the pumps run 24 hours a day, so therefore you would think that that's going to be much, much greater. But what I do is I use a dual speed pump. So it is a horse-and-a-half pump, but it runs on low, so therefore you're using about 2.9 amps. So this system probably cost me about maybe $15 a month to run.
Martin takes specific steps to maintain the health of the pond's natural ecosystem.
To keep it from getting inundated with algae, there's a couple different ways. One is just the balance of the system. A well-balanced system is really going to deter algae from growing. To the fish themselves, they actually do harvest some of the algae that's in the water, but there's thousands of different types of algae. The biggest nemesis for Florida is string algae, and something like a barley bale or something of that nature is really the biggest key for that. Barley bale is just the same barley that's in beer. It's just the raw stalk form. Put into basically a bag, left to rot, and then as it rots, what it actually does is it sets up an actual peroxide material, or chemical I should say, and that just deters string algae.
Regulating algae is desirable, but in a natural system, some forms of algae can be beneficial, forming a natural cover on the pond's rubber lining.
I call it a skin. Not only is it a living part of the pond, but it also protects the liner against UV degradation. Koi are actually cold water fish. We could have systems freeze over solid, and in the spring when it thaws, your fish will be fine. They find their temperate zone in there as long as your water is deep enough and you have enough oxygen to maintain them throughout the winter.
While ponds are one way to utilize and enjoy water, rain barrels offer a different set of possibilities.
The rain barrel is a very old concept. I mean, it goes back centuries and centuries where anybody in dry regions had to save water. And virtually any kind of a container can save the water that is coming off a roof or otherwise just be lost to the environment. It's a very simple concept. We have a means through our gutter system of filling the barrel. We have a means of taking water out of the barrel through a simple spigot. And because this barrel will fill very rapidly in any kind of a rain event, we include with it some overflows. And you can do a number of things with these overflows to redirect them. But this water is very, very usable for the garden. Remember, it has no chemicals in it. It's all totally natural. For your bird baths, for cleaning your garden tools.
This is one way that we use the water from the rain barrel. This is a butterfly bird bath, a butterfly bath. Butterflies don't take water from water sources. They will actually suck it out from the nectar that they use in their plants or with wet sand. So we keep this full with water, it overflows, the sand gets wet, and the butterflies can come and enjoy a drink.
With a little creative thinking, Warren and Joan are helping the Cape Coral Historical Society redirect some of that excess water into rain gardens.
A rain garden is kind of between a regular garden and a desert garden. It's an area that collects water that would otherwise just really run off and go nowhere. This is a very simple example of a rain garden. And what you have here is a downspout coming off of a standard rain gutter. What we have done is just simply directed this into a basin, which we've surrounded now with rocks, mainly to prevent any type of erosion. But what this does is enables it to hold as a holding basin, almost a little reservoir, where the water can then slowly percolate into the ground rather than washing out or carrying away mulch or inundating plants that don't like that much water around them.
Pathways built with crushed seashells are permeable and allow rainwater to drain right through, rather than pooling or running off into ditches. Rain gardens can also be planted in areas that typically become submerged during summer months.
If you choose to do a rain garden in the winter months, you look over your area on your property, and generally what you will find is an area like this where there's higher spots, and the low spot is going to have a lot of green grass growing. So that's your area that you can tell is going to be the lowest.
Native plant expert John Sibley chose to put a rain garden next to his Native Plant Garden Center in Fort Myers. That's an advantage since native plants can usually tolerate standing water, having adapted to conditions in Florida over thousands of years.
Any garden should have some diversity. So what we're going to do is choose a variety of plants that will be a habitat as well as a garden planting. Because wildlife, especially furry critters and birds, are going to utilize the water, the space where the water garden is, for a water source for themselves. Plants that I've chosen is cocoa plum. Cocoa plum will be able to tolerate standing water, and it will be able to tolerate drought conditions as well. So it will adapt to the soil conditions, site conditions quite readily. Green buttonwood is another species of plant, small tree that will be able to tolerate standing water or dry conditions once it's established. The green buttonwood will get up to about 50 feet. So it will be, in our planting, what we'll call the accent plant. The accent meaning that that will be the first plant that we'll generally see as the dominant portion of the planting.
While plants must be able to tolerate standing water during the summer rains, they also have to withstand drought during the dry season. Palms, white stopper, Fakahatchee grass, and leather fern all grow well in these conditions.
Along the perimeter we used a little, just for color, we used tropical sage, dune sunflower, and the gaillardia, or Indian blanket. And for flowers in this water garden, we used tick seed, or coreopsis, which is the Florida state wildflower, which can tolerate standing water. It actually grows in flooded areas and reseeds quite readily. So over a period of years, you'll have a whole meadow of the coreopsis as the dried seed heads drop off, and new generations will pop up over time.
Adapting Florida yards and landscapes to better tolerate the extremes of a subtropical climate conserves natural resources and offers refreshing opportunities for putting water to both practical and enjoyable usage.